Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today I'm looking at Incredible Hulk 363. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Daryl. I'm the host of Read Your Comics. I'm continuing to look at the Peter David Hulk run, and we've kind of wrapped up the Joe Fixit era, and we're just kind of back to Hulk being Hulk, even though he still kind of calls himself Joe every once in a while, but he's no longer the Las Vegas bouncer working in a casino. So to me, the Joe Fixit era is done. We got a Gene Colan cover today, which is kind of unusual. I can't really think of too many times that Gene Colan has done the Hulk. I know he did some stories in the Hulk magazines of the 70s, but I can't really think of any covers or issues he did or even guest appearances in Mainline. I mean, I could be wrong, but just none come to mind. I don't love this cover, though. I do love Gene Colan as an artist, and I like the way the Gray Gargoyle looks, but it's the way the Hulk looks that I'm just kind of like, he seems a little small. I mean, he's tall, but he's like skinny. And then the color of this cover do not jump out. This kind of mustardy, yellowish brown, and even like the lettering up here it's a little more orange, I guess, but none of it like jumps off the shelf. And if you weren't buying the Hulk already, I can't see this one just like jumping off the spinner rack and making you pick it up. Before I jump inside, though, I just want to give a quick shout out to all the viewers' support. All your likes, shares, and comments are much appreciated. And if you're new to the channel or just haven't done so already, be sure to hit subscribe. I'll throw the graphic up right there. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit the like button now. Do it now so you don't forget later, because a lot of people, they watch the video and they just go on to the next video and they forget to hit like, and I need that for all the YouTube algorithm-y things. So one more quick thing before we jump in. This is an Acts of Vengeance tie-in to a bigger event that was happening across Marvel, which I've not read the whole thing. It mostly took place in Avengers, but Loki had gathered up a lot of the bigwig supervillains, and then they gathered up lackeys below them to kind of switch it up and take on heroes that they weren't really familiar with. And I guess the idea was that the heroes would be so confused and befuddled that the villains would be able to win. But of course, it always ends up the villains don't work well together and they lose. But this is one of those tie-ins, and it's a good way to do a tie-in because it doesn't feel like I had to read the whole thing. We'll get into it and see real quick. They tell me what's going on, and then we just get into this Hulk Gray Gargoyle story, and I don't feel like I had to go track down any other issues to make this work. And I think that is something that's been sorely missing over the last close to 20 years that Marvel has been doing events, and you always feel like you have to get all these different parts. Or if you're just reading the title but didn't want to read the event and it affects your title, you had to feel like, oh man, I'm really missing something by not reading the main event. But in this case, you don't. It's just an Acts of Vengeance tie-in, and that's all you really needed to know. I love this opening page. Jeff Purves is still doing the interior pencils with Mary Severin on inks, and this is Jeff Purves lettering. Look how it's it's stacked, so it's got a little three-dimensional feel, like it's coming at you off the page. This Hulk is so well detailed for Purves, and again, I've been complimenting Mary Severin on the inks for so long. There's like these little hatchings that really help with the modeling and the shape of the Hulk here. But he's fallen out of the sky. One arm is bannerized, and this is just great. So right off the bat, you're like, oh man, what's going on? Because this isn't how we left the Hulk in the last issue. This isn't picking up from a cliffhanger. This is just, bam, we're jumping into the issue. But then you get a flashback to 24 hours earlier. And this is explaining the whole, this one page basically explains the Acts of Vengeance by having Dr. Doom hire the Gray Gargoyle to go take on the Hulk. And that's enough plot to get them together, right? Dr. Doom, of course, knew where the Hulk was already in the Las Vegas area because he did appear, in issues 350. Dr. Doom had a run-in with the Hulk. So Dr. Doom, already knowing where the Hulk is, sends the Gray Gargoyle to do it. Interesting little airplane, which why wouldn't Dr. Doom just send him on one of his own planes? But he sends him to fly commercial, and the Gray Gargoyle's riding in the plane, and he gets a little beep beep in his pocket, and he pulls out this device, and he sees the Hulk, that we just saw falling from the sky because this is a little gamma tracker that could help him track down the Hulk. This guy's like a federal agent. This is before the TSA. So he's just a federal agent who said, we've been having problems with electronic devices on planes. You need to tell me what that is. And he tells him what it is and tells him that Dr. Doom gave it to him. And he's like, the Hulk is dead. And Dr. Doom, come on. Says, so what does that make you? Magneto? Galactus? Am I getting warm? Am I? No, my friend, you are cold. And stone cold. Now, if you're not familiar with the Gray Gargoyle, when he touches people, he turns them to stone. He can make himself stone too, but he can move and stuff. But when he turns other people to stone, they're just stuck. This is a funny, like, little scene, but I think it would have worked better if essentially these panels are swapped and you had the close up of him saying, no, monster, you were cold. And then it pans back to see that he turned him to stone. You're stone cold. But you see him taking his glove off there to turn him to stone. Cut back to the Hulk falling from the sky. So we didn't spend a lot of time in the flashback, right? And that's a good thing. We start out with an attention grabber. The Hulk is falling in the sky. He's turning back into Banner. Cut to 24 hours later to get our quick Acts of Vengeance tie-in explanation on one page. Cut back to the present day. The Gray Gargoyle sees him from a distance falling out of the sky. And then we're right back to the Hulk. So good pacing right there. I like the layout of this page too with the crooked panels, and the Hulk is just wanting to fight off the change. The cloud work on this page, he does look like he's flying, kind of like how he jumped in those early issues when Kirby had him jump for the first time and people thought he was flying. And when he lands hard, notice here he cuts a swath across this road. So it's almost like a meteor striking. And Banner gets out and says he's missing a filling, I think. Missing a filling is loose, which, kind of funny. Shows the Banner kind of felt that. The Hulk was able to fight off the change just long enough to get Banner to the ground, although the sun's not up. We have an issue with coloring in this a lot of times. When it's supposed to be nighttime and the Hulk is out, it's daytime. And when it's supposed to be daytime and Banner's out, it looks like nighttime. So coloring is an issue there, but we know what's going on, right? The clouds are pink. Maybe it's hinting that the sun is coming up over in like this direction. That's my no prize. Gray Gargoyle getting off the plane. He hops in a nice like Ferrari or something here. They find the guy in stone. The stewardess does, and she thinks it's a joke the other stewardesses are playing on her. Meanwhile, Banner has a job at the local nuclear facility, and he already kind of tipped this guy off in the previous issue that he was more than just a janitor because he looked at some meters and stuff and saw something was out of whack. And so this guy asks the janitor, he's like, hey, will you look at this for me? He's like, well, what would I know? Oh my gosh, these are all out of line. This is not good. And he's like, but what do I know? I'm just a janitor. And he's like, oh, I know who you are, Dr. Banner. And so you think there's like something nefarious going on right there. But really, he's just wanting some help because he's kind of a low-level guy and in the company, and he wants to just move up in the company. And he's like, if you'll help me, I'll keep your secret and stuff. But then Banner's also like, well, how can I trust you? And he says, well, you can't really, but I won't turn you in either way. I would like your help, but if you don't want to help me, I get it, and I won't turn you in. And so he's like, okay, fine, I'll help you. Or no, I should say, the guy didn't say, I'll not turn you in. He said, I will get you some more access if you'll help me. Get you more access to equipment and the computer and blah, 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 if you help me. And that's when Banner says, how can I trust somebody I just met? And he's like, well, this isn't blackmail. If you don't help me, I'm not going to turn you in. And so Banner agrees to it. More of the Gray Gargoyle tracking him down. He's driving around in his convertible. He's turning people to stone as he goes. He runs up on the road crew that's fixing that skid mark the Hulk made on the landing where the road is all torn up. And a lot of foreshadowing here, setting things up, putting things in place. You can tell, I mean, they make a big point of this scene of him driving across it and stuff. Clearly, this is going to come back into play. Banner and the other guy are having a discussion. There's a joke here too. It's like, oh, look at Stearns. The guy's name is Stearns, which that's the leader's name too, but it's not the leader, I don't think, but it's Phil Stearns. And these guys are saying, oh, look at him sitting with the janitor, almost like a high school lunch. He's like, what do you think they're discussing? Either toilet bowl cleaner or DNA realignment. You pick. Like, ha ha, it's a joke. And then it cuts, and immediately he's like, so Bruce, your DNA was completely realigned by the blast, right? So there's your Peter Davidism. And they have an interesting discussion about why Banner changes back and forth, but other people who have been affected by radiation and even gamma radiation usually just change and stay changed. But Banner's able to revert back. So as Banner leaves, he starts questioning himself like he has a point. What if all this time I've been trying to get rid of the Hulk, but my DNA has been so realigned that really the Hulk is the norm? The Hulk is what I should be right now. Another interesting thought that Peter David is introducing to the Hulk mythos right there. You got the Gray Gargoyle in his Ferrari. I guess he's like Magnum PI. He puts on like, one of those like lights, police lights you can put on the top of your car. And to pull Banner over, he contemplates, he's like, well, if I run, I'm in trouble, but maybe it's just a tail light. I'll just go ahead and pull over. You see him walking up. Next page, he's been turned to stone and thrown in the back of the Ferrari, which has the top down. Let's note that because this is a little screw up by Purves. Over here, the top is back up, and it happens real quick. So kind of a screw up there, unless you want to say maybe the wreck causes the top to fly back up. I don't know, but the top is down here, and the sun is going down because he's getting held up by the road work, which kind of tells you earlier too that he got held up by the road work before. He's getting held up by the road work again, and the sun is going down, and he starts to change anyway. And at first he's like, "Oh, that's incredible that even that nothing is stopping the change. The sun is going down. He's still turning into the Hulk, but he's still stone, or so he thinks." And then all of a sudden his head is getting slammed into the steering wheel, and there goes the car crashing. He turns himself into his costumed look. And I don't know a ton about the Gray Gargoyle, but why does he wear Black Panther's original like gloves and boots, and even has kind of the little cape that Black Panther used to wear? So I don't know if there's a storyline behind that. Somebody wants to jump in the comments and explain it to me, I'd appreciate it because I've always thought that's kind of odd about him. Anyway, he turns to stone and picks up the jackhammer because he's going to go after the Hulk, and he's saying Doctor Doom wanted the Hulk back as a statue. He wanted him frozen so that if they needed to unfreeze him and be useful, they could. But he's worried about his own safety here, so he says, "I guess this means the contract is void, but at least I'll be known as the guy that took out the Hulk." Coloring mistake here of his skin being colored flesh color, but the Hulk is able to move, grabs the jackhammer, and just gets up and starts smashing the car and the Gray Gargoyle. I'm loving the art in this, really. I mean, again, I think this is one that Purvis is having fun with, and Mary Severn just punching it up, just punching it up. Great panel there. So the rest of this is just kind of a throwdown, right? Gray Gargoyle turns things into stone and tries to hit the Hulk with it. And does when he turns something to stone, and he's stone, does it make it like light to him, like he can just pick it up, whatever? Because I would think even earlier turning Banner into stone and then carrying it to the car would have been heavy, and here he turns a big slab of asphalt, I think, or wood even. He turns it into stone to hit the Hulk with, and that's pretty heavy. So I don't know. He must be able to do that. I do love this panel. This is a great panel. I love the like kind of shock coming back, and the Hulk explains too why he was able to change, because it's his healing factor more or less, and his metabolism was able to get him out of the stone. And so the Gray Gargoyle jumps in this roller and starts, just going over the Hulk, and it seems to be hurting the Hulk, right? I mean, he's screaming. Look at the pain. Look at the detail of his neck, and that's a good roar right there for the Hulk. So you see the crick, like maybe he's still a little bit of stone, and it's kind of crushing him. Even there, it looks like it's crushing him. But is that the road, or is that the Hulk getting crushed? I don't know. Great lettering again all along this page by Purves. Hulk lifting it up. He's not having any of that. Coloring again, weird. It's like, what's going on right here? Why is he kind of bluish colored here, but it cuts off on his legs? Is that the stone, like, changing back to flesh? Is it supposed to be shadow, but it's night? Because it's like he's kind of blue there. I mean, it's just, coloring has a few wonky spots. And this is Glennis Oliver doing the coloring. And normally, she's a pro, been doing it for decades. But a couple weird mistakes going on here. Good perspective on this one. I really enjoy when Purves like twists up the panel layout, and it gives a real frenetic feel too. He gets a traffic cone and turns it to stone and smashes it on the Hulk's head. And again, the coloring here with the blue and this line of the traffic cone made and this panel too, there's a weird parallel happening here that it took me a second to realize this was one full panel when I first was reading it. But I like it. It's a well-drawn panel. If you take that out, it looks great. But it was this panel and this line here kind of throwing me off a little bit. Nice hat. And again, Hulk's done with all this. Bahomp. Picks up another big road construction vehicle. And I guess it's full of like cement. It doesn't look like a cement mixer. Or maybe it's full of like sand or something that's like holding him down. But the whole question is, why are you even doing this? To gain revenge on Thor and Iron Man. Oh, well, that makes tons of sense. You hate this guy, so you attack some other guy. Anyway, the Hulk covers him up, and whatever this is, I guess it's dirt, sand. It holds him down enough, and he sticks his arm out. He's like, oh, how about that? You're trying to break free. So the Hulk grabs his hand, and then you hear a grack or grark, and his screaming, and you know what's happened. The Hulk has like crushed his arm, and I have to wonder if this wasn't edited to some degree to make it less gruesome. Because even though it's bent a little back, that's still somewhat of a natural looking position on first glance. And the Hulk twisted his arm, and he's in his stone form, and he's like, in a couple of hours, I'm going to be, I turn back. He must turn back after so long. And his arm will be broken. He's like, when the Hulk's kind of like, yeah, you better get going then and try to fix it, because I'm not going to stop you, but I'm not here to help you, and you better not come back. And then he pokes fun at him, saying, and don't worry, if I ever want vengeance on you, I'll go after someone really tough, like Dan Quayle. Ha 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 ha. And that's it. That's a good Acts of Vengeance tie-in. I think this is the kind of thing I think is more appealing for when you think of like the Marvel universe as a whole. There's a bigger event going on, and it can dip in and affect your title, but not make you feel like you have to go read that other book. And I think it's a good tie-in. It's a good one-off issue. Colors on the cover aren't great, but it's a really well-drawn issue on the inside. It's a fun one. Definitely grab it if you're digging around and run across it. Until next time, read your comics. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed my breakdown of this issue, you can support the channel by hitting subscribe. It costs you nothing and helps other comic fans find the channel. You can also visit readyourcomics.com for cool merch, like this. Read Your Comics isn't just a brand, it's a mantra. And when you wear a Read Your Comics shirt, you are helping spread the word. For more classic comics conversation, be sure to follow me on Instagram at read.your.comics. And if you're still here, why not watch one of my older videos? Here or here.